Hey guys, we're here back again. This time we are doing a guide on Jungle Olaf. We were going to do the top lane Olaf, but we decided against it because we already did the top lane Darius, and I already main basically Jungle Olaf if I don't get my mid lane Kali. So since I already play him quite a bit in Jungle, I figure what better than to do a guide on him. So here we are. So before we get into it though, I do want to say a big thank you to all you new subscribers as well as the existing subscribers on the channel. My channel's starting to really pick up again, and I'm really excited to see where we'll be in the future, and hopefully we can continue to grow together. It shows 35% are still unsubscribed, so if you do like this series and you want to see more come, definitely leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will love you guys forever. But anyways, moving on, we want to talk about Olaf here. So without further ado, let's get into, before the abilities, I want to talk about what I did in the beginning, which is the warding the blue buff. So I go red buff first, but then I actually ward blue beforehand. That way, if they decide to counter jungle, my mid lane or myself can make a decision whether or not to counter their counter jungling. But anyways, my main rotation is ward the blue, take the red, then I go with the birds, I counter jungle their blue, and then I grab the scuttle, and then I start making my rotations for everything else, whether it's pressuring lane, getting the other side of the farm, or whatever it may be. Whatever your responsibilities as jungle typically is, that's what I'm doing afterwards. So let's get into his abilities though. So the first things first is his throwing axes. His throwing axes have a maximum and a minimum range, which you'll see here in a little bit. It actually has a reticle showing, hey, this is how far you can throw it, and if you drag it, it goes even further. If you actually hit a target with that, it slows them down considerably, as well as if you pick them up, it reduces the cooldown on that ability as well, and it's insanely good for not only chasing but also poking and also farming in the jungle, because if you just run around and keep picking up your axes, you can constantly throw them out like tomahawks, you know? It's really nice. But anyways, going into his second ability, it is an attack boost, giving him attack speed as well as the lifesteal there, keeping him afloat as far as health. And then we do have the third ability, which is his lightning smash. I don't know the name. I don't care for the name. I just care to know what they do, right? So basically, his third ability smashes down, doing true damage, meaning it bypasses all armor or resistances as a whole and does the full damage of that ability. It's insane, especially if you're going like top lane against another bruiser. Like typically, unless like they outplay you mechanically, you're going to dominate in that lane. But we're talking about jungle. Forget top lane. Anyways, so going into the ultimate, we do have another buff where it gives you attack damage, run speed, and immunity to any control effects. So whether it's a root, a charm, a knock-up, they do not affect you. You just run right through it. It doesn't freaking matter. You are a wrecking train looking for trouble with the buff from your ultimates and the buff from your second ability and your chase potential with your axes and their damage potential with your third ability. Olaf is a monster, especially in jungle. But anyways, so that is his abilities. The passive, to keep that in mind, also increases your attack speed as you get lower. A couple other things I didn't talk about too in his abilities, and lower as in health, excuse me. As you get lower in health, you get more attack speed from your passive. The other couple things I didn't talk about real quickly is his second ability does in fact give you more lifesteal as you get lower as well in health. And then his ultimate does give you passively extra armor and magic resistance. So like to kind of like complete his kit, there you go. So that's how he works as far as his kit goes. Going into rotations again, to reiterate here, we started off with the warding of the blue buff. In case they try to counter jungle, we can make a decision there. And then we head on over to the brush in front of the red buff until about 15 seconds in, just to make sure they're not going to invade your red. And then if they aren't, then you go ahead and go around, take your red buff, take the birds, head on over to their blue buff and counter jungle, so long as the timing is right and they haven't already picked it up. And then you're gonna go ahead and get the scuttle in the river and then start making your rotations as a jungler, whether it is, you know, getting lane pressure in the bottom lane, the mid lane, or even, you know, if there's nothing going on, no one's extended, nothing to really do other than farm, go farm your other side. And then that's kind of how it happens from there. From here on out, I primarily max out my third ability first. I max out my second ability second, and then I max out, you know, the ultimate as it comes up, of course, and then finally the last one will be my axes. I don't even know why. I guess that's the my little gesture for axes. But anyways, so that is the actual kits, the order as which I max them out, and the general rotation here. I've already gone over this before, but I'll go over it again in case you haven't seen my other jungle guides with other champions. But the main role as the jungler is to apply pressure in lanes. You'll see here me making a rotation to go ahead and take out the Lux because, well, she was overextended and I want to capitalize on that, allowing my laner, the bottom laner there, to excel at getting the farm while the other enemy was denied farm because she died. And so therefore it gets the laner ahead and allowing her to be stronger in the end than their counterpart. And then she can push turrets as well, towers if you will. It's really nice. And then the other responsibility outside of pressuring lanes as a jungler is you want to be getting the objectives. You want to secure the crabs, the scuttles? Is that what why am I suddenly forgetting the name of it? Anyways, the crabs in the river. Get the freaking crabs. They're really important. If you want to engage to the maximum efficiency, you want to get those crabs because it gives you the run speed to engage in those lanes a lot quicker, so you can react to what's going on in those lanes a lot quicker from a further distance because it gives you that extra boost to get there quicker. It just makes sense, right? And then you have the vision as well on those objectives that the crab provides. So whether it's the Rift Herald or the Baron or the Dragon, getting those crabs give you the vision that you need in order to make sure they're not being taken without you knowing. And that's really important because the more that the enemy team gets the objectives, the stronger they become incrementally throughout the match, and that's a no-no. You do not want them to get the dragon, especially if there's a Shyvana in the enemy team, because she gets even stronger on top of the buffs because of her passive where she gets disgustingly strong by picking up dragons. So it's an extra incentive to definitely get it when there's a Shyvana, but as a whole, get your objectives whenever they come up. Do it as a team if you can. Otherwise, if everybody's busy and no one's paying attention to you, you can secretly get the Rift Herald or the Dragon, and you can slowly build up your team's power and just mow the competition down. So yeah, apply pressure, get your objectives, participate in team fights. That's really important too. You don't want to just be doing your own thing all the time. You want to, get into those team fights mid to late game so that, you can start applying the damage and basically you're also a meat shield for the enemy team, so that when they're doing damage, they're focusing on you and you're not dying because you have your ult off, you're not getting charmed, you're not getting stunned, you're taking all the damage for your team. You're a frontliner. That's what your role is as Olaf, is you are a frontliner. You want to be in the front. You want to make the engagements if somebody else like the top laner is not doing it, or the support's not making his pulls or whatever. You are also a part of that responsibility to frontline and engage on potential fights and capitalize on mistakes. That's the role of the Olaf, specifically as a jungler. So yeah, that is really, really important. You also want to keep a watch on those timers. So like on the objectives for Dragon, Rift Herald, Baron, there will be timers. With the Rift Herald, it shows the timer when it finally comes up, but it also has another... Oh, what happened there? A guide, and I'm dying here. But anyway, so with the Rift Herald, there's also a timer that goes around the icon, and that's the timer until the Baron shows up, and that's when the Rift Herald disappears forever. So if you guys ever wonder what that is, for you guys who are new to Wild Rift, that's what that is. The little timer around the Rift Herald is how long until the Baron spawns, and there's no longer a Rift Herald to push lanes with. When it comes to the Rift Herald, I don't think I've ever touched on how to properly use the Rift Herald. And correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, I'm not perfect, there might be a better way to do it, but typically what I try to do is I go to the lane that's pushed in the furthest, and then I'll drop the Rift Herald there. Or the lane that's having the hardest time, I'll apply pressure through myself, helping my teammates secure kills potentially, and then, did I survive this? Oh, damn. I thought I was gonna get it. I remember that particular moment, I was telling them to go in. I'm like, hey, go in, go in, go in. And if they actually went in, we would have actually killed the Lux easily, and then I would have dipped out and survived. But it's all right, it happens. Communication is key. Unfortunately, I didn't have the means to communicate with everybody, because I was only in comms with one other person. But anyways, going back to what I was talking about, if I can remember. Rift Herald usage, that's right. So again, you put it towards a lane that's already, you know, pushed in, so that you can capitalize on getting that first turret and then going straight into the next one, getting that charge on that Rift Herald to pummel into the next turret really quick. Or if a lane's having trouble, you want to put the Rift Herald there and help push with it. That way you can get that turret down, allowing that laner to now start rotating a lot more. Because basically what happens is when your top lane or your bottom lanes have the first turret pushed, that is basically the signal as to when they will start rotating a lot more. Because now they don't have to worry about pushing that turret. But yeah, so as far as builds go, I typically go Black Cleaver so long as there's tanks in there. You could go like Trinity Force. I've seen it. I've used it. It's fine. But I just like to go Black Cleaver as a whole, because typically there's mainly tanks in every team, whether it's the support, the top lane bruiser. If they happen to be all squishies, then go Trinity Force. You don't need the Black Cleaver. But I mainly go Black Cleaver first, because in most situations that's the better item, I feel like, personally. From there I go into the Death Dance, because that does reduce the damage I take in instance. It delays the damage. Excuse me, Jesus, I'm trying to figure out what it does in my mind. It prevents the damage from all happening all at once. So it's really nice to have, especially if you're engaging, because you're not getting dumped with a bunch of damage. It's staggering it out. But or potentially if I'm really ahead, or if I'm even behind, going a second item, Guardian's Angel, is not bad either. Because then the earlier you get Guardian's Angel, which I can basically give you the acronym, which is GA, you can really start to use that a lot more throughout the match than you would if you got it later on in the game. So like, I've always had a hard time explaining this, but the sooner you get the item, the more potential you have to get uses out of it, right? Because you had it earlier. So you have the potential to die and revive yourself more within that time frame than you would if you got it way later in the game. You don't want to get Guardian's Angel last. You do not. Do not get Guardian's Angel last. Get either second or third. Typically I think I go mainly GA second, but I have done third if I'm just not dying and I'm doing fine and our team's doing really well. And then from there, you can go into like Spirit Visage if it's a really heavy AP person in the enemy team, or you can go into your Sterix Gauge if you just want to get a little tankier and not really worry about AP defense, magic resist, if you will. And then your boots, you go. I generally go with the Grievous boots, or the Gluttonous boots, excuse me, because I like the extra lifesteal on top of my innate lifesteal. It's just really nice for survivability. And then from there I go with the enchant, which is the Glorious enchant, the extra run speed, because with that on top of my ultimate run speed, you move insanely fast, and your engagement potential is so good, because even if they see you, you are running like 1,000 miles per second and they will not get away. So long as you time your Glorious enchant properly with your ultimate, it is disgusting. It's so fast. You'll see it throughout the match. It's really good for ganking and for just overall engagements. So you can see here, we're trying to we put down 2 of their enemies, of our enemies, and so we're taking the chance on getting the Baron, which we almost lost there. My God. But yeah, we went and capitalized on them being dead to secure the Baron Nashor. What did I call him before? Anyways, we secured the Baron Nashor. I thought I called him something else, but so we got him now. And then at this point, since we're kind of pulling away from like the general ideas of Jungle Olaf, we're kind of going to the more specifics now in certain events. So we got the Baron Nashor. What you want to do is you want to start applying that buff in every lane. You'll have a couple people keep pushing pressure on mid, but they won't go too crazy with it like they are doing right now. They're getting a little ahead, which is fine as long as they're confident and they know they won't die, but they're getting quite far ahead and they're probably going to die here. So they should have been a little bit more reserved in mid lane, and then we would have the other people push. Oh, we would have 2 people. One person push the top, one person push the bottom, and then the other 3 in the mid applying pressure there. That way we can get the buffs going on the minions from the Baron, and then push those turrets for objectives so we can get the extra gold. we can start getting to the inhibitor turrets. And when you take down the inhibitor turrets, towers, whatever, what happens is that you start spawning super minions, and that puts a lot more pressure on the enemy team, especially if you can get a Baron on top of that. It becomes disgustingly good. You don't always have to win by simply pushing mid lane. You can win by doing split pressure, so putting pressure on multiple lanes at the same time, which divides their forces because they have to address those other lanes. And so therefore, really, if they don't attend to the top and bot lane, they're going to lose all their turrets, and eventually we're going to get to the inhibitor turrets, and they're going to not like that, because then it starts spawning super minions, and then on top of getting a Baron, it becomes extremely hard to fight back. Once you're down with all your inhibitor turrets on your side, and you're only fighting on your main building, it's going to be an extremely uphill battle in order to make it work and bring the game to a finished victory. It's going to be really, really hard to do so. I've done it where, you have basically all your buildings, all your towers are gone, all your turrets are gone, and all you have is your main building, and we get the ace, and we have enough pressure in lanes where we're not getting pushed into, and we get the win, but it's extremely hard. Do not get there. You do not want them to get to that point. But yeah, so you definitely want to use your Baron buff as you got it. You don't want the biggest mistake I see is I see people get the Baron buff and everybody just pushes mid. They do not apply pressure to top or bot lane. They just stay in mid and they think, okay, we have the buff on our minions in mid lane, let's just keep pushing in. But I feel like that's the biggest mistake you can do, because you're missing out on so much potential from that Baron. You're basically taking the potential of that Baron and dividing it by, like, basically 2/3. Does that make sense? The math doesn't make sense. You're basically doing 1/3 of what you can be doing with Baron, okay? Because you can be applying pressure to all 3 lanes, but you're only doing 1. So you're doing 1/3 of what you could be doing at your maximum potential with Baron. So definitely capitalize on that. If I do stumble, guys, I'm a little sick. My head's a little cloudy. No, it's not COVID. It's just a cold. I already actually had COVID. If you guys don't know, if you don't follow me on Twitter, I actually had it. It's horrible. Protect yourselves, guys, okay? For me, for yourself, for your family, protect yourself. But anyways, I digress. So going back into the game. So looks like here I have the option between the Sterx Gauge and the Spirit Visage. I'm trying to get a feel for the composition here. So they have a Xin Zhao, a Zed. I didn't see the rest. I haven't been paying attention because, I'm not really following too much yet. But yeah, if I'm having problems with like their AP carries, then definitely get the Spirit Visage, because Spirit Visage also increases your healing off your lifesteal by I think 30%, and it's pretty nasty. And so it allows you to survive even harder. Or if you're not having problems with AP carries, then just go ahead and go Sterx Gauge in this case. I believe I do have Guardian's Angel, so you can see there I went kind of early with it because I want to be able to maximize the uses out of that. I don't want to get it too late and just basically only have one use out of it and the game's over. I want to be able to have the ability to basically engage hard and not be scared of engaging because I have a revive. And so long as my team's still alive while I am reviving, I typically survive. And I can even potentially re-engage and clean up. I don't know, it depends. Once again, we have 3 people dead on the enemy team. So what do? We push Baron, we push Dragon. We get those objectives, even if it feels like, hey, we should just push lane, we can win. A lot of times, people overestimate what they can do without those objectives. Instead of just pushing lane, you can be getting the Baron lane and then apply pressure, again, like I said, to all 3 lanes, and it's generally a lot better of a chance to win through that method than it is just simply push mid lane all the time. And I say that all the time whenever I see, bronze and silver players. No offense to you guys, no offense, but it happens a lot in those tiers that I've noticed. Is that they only focus on the singular lane. They don't pull back and get objectives, and that's the biggest mistake you can do. You definitely want to get your objectives. I cannot emphasize that enough. Get your objectives. But before I continue, I need some water. My throat's getting dry. Delicious health. All right, so looks like we're going to be closing this out, though. I'm trying to secure some kills here. I was trying to get that. I think that was Ashe, maybe? That way, if they're down even more, with the Baron buff, we can push to a victory here. We should be pretty close here. So, you can see here, our top lane's pushing. I applied pressure to the mid lane, got the buff on those minions, and I'm going to rotate over to the right side and start putting pressure on that turret. That way, they're pressured on every lane possible. And what's going to happen is they're going to have to eventually address those other sides, because if they don't, it's going to push their main building, and they're going to lose. We also secure that Darius. That was really nice. So again, here we go. Buff in the mid lane. And then we should have somebody go up to top to apply pressure there. Unless we're going to be able to clean this up and just bring this to a finish already, which it looks like we will be able to. I still even have Guardian's Angel. So there you go. There's the guide for Jungle Olaf. Hopefully that was very informative. I try my best. I'm not like the absolute best at doing this series, but like hopefully I get incrementally better over time. So we are sitting at gold 3 with 3 stars. Hopefully we can get to gold 2 pretty soon. It's been up and down right now. I'm going against a lot of platinums I've noticed lately, and I feel like I'm probably at the cusp of hitting platinum pretty soon. I just got to get a little bit better, and hopefully I can get some better odds with my teammates too. There's been a couple times where like people are kind of not really pulling their own weight, myself included at times, but yeah, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed this guide. Again, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I love you guys regardless, and I will see you guys in the next video. Later!